Thank you for joining CU Bands and Fans podcast. Our podcast is brought to you by Homegrown KIO. Homegrown KIO is on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. It is a stellar show featuring the great songs that have come from bands originating in Champaign-Urbana. Listen at 107.9 on your FM dial, at 1079wkio.com, or ask Alexa to play WKIO. Hello, welcome to CU Bands and Fans podcast, where musicians tell their story. Our guest, excitingly enough, is Mr. Gary Jones. Gary hails from Danville. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. So we're very excited to have Gary with us this evening, and we've got a lot to talk about. I've already learned just in this pre-chat before recording a few things about him that I had no idea. So let's start the ball with when you learned and how you learned to play the guitar, because you can rip that guitar like nobody I've ever seen.
Well, you're too kind. You're too kind. I don't know. I was born an only child and I sucked at sports. So I thought I'd try music, and that stuck.
And it worked.
And I was probably 14, 13, 14. By the time I was 14 or 15, I was playing out in bars on the weekends. It was a different time back then, though.
Yeah.
The bars would let me in, but my mom had to chaperone.
What was that like?
Well, I don't know.
It didn't matter to you as long as you were playing.
Well, I remember the first time I played, the band leader, I was 14, and the guys in the band were like in their 40s. And the bar owners would make me stay on the stage or go outside when the band went on break. I couldn't walk around and mingle. And I got paid $50. And the first night I said, "What's this for?" And they're like, "It's your pay." And I'm like, "You mean to tell me they're going to let me have this much fun and pay me?" And I didn't look back. It just, there it went. But yeah, my mom took me every night.
Hang on a second. Sorry, everyone. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Okay. Well, I'm thinking back then, $50. That's pretty good.
Wasn't bad.
Yeah. I mean, how long did you play? Probably limited on your time because of your age.
No, we'd start at like 9 o'clock and I'd be there till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
Luckily it was on weekends, so I didn't have to get up and go to school.
I think that's so cool, because what a great experience for you.
I guess. I mean, it was just something that back then I really didn't know what was going on. I just knew I'm doing this. Kids would be talking about their parties at school, like, "Hey, who's going to Jimmy's Kegger this weekend?" I'm like, "I'm not. I'm going to make some money. I'm going to play my guitar."
And so how did you learn to play guitar?
Well, my first instrument was bass, and I remember saving up some money and buying a cheap, I can't even tell you the name of it. It was, if it had a name, I don't remember. But I went to a buddy's house, and he was the drummer for this band that I played in. And he said, "Look, we're looking for a guitar player. Do you think you could do it?" And I says, "I don't know. It's got 2 extra strings than a bass has got." And I'm not kidding you. I borrowed his guitar. I practiced for a week. I went to the audition and I got the gig. And I literally looked at these guys and I'm like, "Are you serious?" And that was and then my mom paid for like 2 or 3 guitar lessons. And the third lesson, I remember showing the teacher how to play a Def Leppard song. And I never went back then. I just started learning from my records.
Because you know what? You truly, anybody that has seen you play, he's killer, isn't he, Zach?
Yes.
Well,
definitely.
I appreciate that.
Phenomenal.
I think it's just, I don't know. It's 43 years I've been doing this. 43 years this year, so it's wrapping up. So it'll be 44 years here, and I don't see any time I'm going to be quitting anytime soon. I hope. Uh, the blues band I got right now is we're doing great.
So, what's the name of this blues band that you're in now?
The Danville Blues Coalition.
Okay, and that is a band.
Yep, that is a band.
Yeah, I've noticed you've gotten a lot of shows in the Danville area.
Man, Zach, they're keeping us busy over here. We got these three ladies that own these bars, and we just kind of bounce from. We did a little summer tour from bar to bar to bar, and sometimes in Oakwood, but mainly these three bars kept us busy all summer. Of course, we're doing beer gardens on Sunday afternoons, and that's all going to change.
Yeah, it's the weather, but it's got to be great to be able to just like play right where you live and not have to do all this traveling. And
the hours have changed now. I mean, Sunday afternoons is 3 to 6. If we do a night, I got a Friday night coming up this weekend, and it's 8 to 11. So I'm still home by quarter after midnight, maybe even earlier, and my wife, she has to work on Saturday morning. So to get done at 11 is nice. I mean, I remember the old days when it was 10 to 2 and you're packing up a gear and you're walking out of the bar at 4:30 in the morning.
Absolutely.
So, Jill is a great singer too.
I think she heard you say that, Zach. I'll tell.
Oh, I said Jill is a great singer too.
Yeah. Well, we met, man, probably 85, 86 in a band. She was the singer in a band that I was playing with off and on.
How perfect.
I met her in Janesville, Wisconsin.
What?
I thought yeah. And the funny thing is she's from around here, but I was out on the road. I left high school and went on tour, and I quit for a while. I was probably home for a month, and they needed a bass player, and I went back, and the band was located in Janesville, Wisconsin. And when I walked in, there was Jill.
Crazy. Isn't that crazy?
We've been singing for almost 40 years. We've been singing together, playing together.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. And so, like, when did you begin the Danville Blues Coalition?
Man, probably 2.5, 3 years ago, 2.5. Wow. It all started as a one-off. We went Oakwood. My buddy Keith Tolson, the bass player, called me and said, "Hey, you want to play?" I don't know. It was like the next day on a Sunday afternoon. And I'm like, "Sure, I ain't doing nothing." And we did one gig there. And he's like, "You want to play next week?" And I'm like, "Sure." And this was like 2 years ago. We just didn't quit. It's still going.
That seems yeah, I'm just going to do this. Let's keep doing this.
We sold out of every T-shirt we've had printed. I'm pretty sure we even sold out all the smalls. But I mean, we had a whole bunch of. We'd come up with a slogan for what's on the back of the shirt. Like the last T-shirt was the "Don't Be a Chump" tour, and just whatever me and Keith think of, we put it on the back of the T-shirt. I mean, we've sold out all of them.
I love that. I love that. What a great idea. Selling merch. So also you played in a lot of bands, and you were telling me in 88 you played in Ransom.
In 88. I came back to town permanently in 88, and my son was born in 88. I'm back up here in Danville from Florida, and I joined a band called Ransom. And we played, I don't know, that lasted probably 3 years maybe. But we headlined a lot of gigs at Mabel's. And Mabel's was the place we played over here in Champaign, because all of us were from Danville. And so we didn't do any other bar in Champaign but Mabel's. But we were there at least once a month. And we started out on Metal Monday and ended up headlining on Saturdays and having bands from Chicago come down and open for us.
That's
just for them to get their foot in the door. They were willing to open for us for nothing.
Wow.
That's awesome. So Mabel's, that was I mean, if you got in a
I look back on 1988, 89, 90, and I don't recall ever playing Champaign other than Mabel's. I can't, maybe a private party or something like that, but it was Mabel's, man. That was
Well,
the
place
place,
to-
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
You know, no internet, no cell phones. That place rocked.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And then like everybody on our podcast, we've got a lot of people that played at Mabel's, and everybody's got a Mabel story. But they all mentioned the fact that you had to go up them stairs in the back. No?
Oh yeah, I'm shaking my head and I remember them stairs vividly. It was the load in. The load in was what sucked because the loadout you had gravity on your side.
Mm-hmm.
So the load in you had to carry it up the stairs. But I remember one night we played there, and I'm sure the alcohol had a lot to do with it. But I had a Marshall cabinet, and I got to the turn in the stairs, and I said, "Well, I'm not carrying this for the rest of the way," and I just kicked it, and it went down the steps and ended up down there by the equipment van. And Matt, the drummer, picked it up and put it in the van, and it still worked. But yeah, gravity helped out on loadout.
Well, because back in the day, that equipment was not light.
It still ain't.
Yeah, it was just massive. And did you guys have to do speakers and all of that, or did they supply that?
Mabel's had the smoke in this house PA and light show. So we rented our lights off a guy named, I want to say Dave Rushco
Yeah.
Lighting. Zach,
Yeah.
help me out here,
He
man.
was on one of our podcasts a while back.
Yeah, great guy. And we'd rent he put the light show in Mabel's, and then when your band played there, you just rented what you wanted. He had, you could buy lights in packages, like the $25 package or the $70 package, and the more money you spent, the more lights you had, so you look like a rock star.
That's freaking awesome. He mentioned, wasn't Dave the one on our podcast that talked about the pyro? What are them called? What those fire things that shoot up?
Uh-huh.
What are they called? Pyro. I don't know what they're called, but anyway.
Pyrotechnics.
Yeah, pyrotechnics. Didn't he say that those it blew out the windows at Mabel's?
Yeah.
I was there one night when the ceiling caught on fire. And the ceiling was like 3 stories up too, but it caught on fire. The pyro went that far up.
That's what he's talking about. Yeah, that's crazy. There's so many stories that place contained. It's just unbelievable.
I had a friend who played keyboards in a band at Mabel's probably at least once a month. He didn't have a car, so I used to help him with his stuff, and I used to drive him around to the back, and we'd carry his keyboards up those stairs. And I remember it took some doing.
Oh yeah. And then Dave, the owner of the bar, would pull up because you could unload there in the alley, but you couldn't leave your cars there in the alley.
Yeah.
And it never failed that the dude, I can't remember his last name, he'd walk through the bar and he'd go, "You gotta move your cars." And I'm like, I didn't drive back then, so I wasn't out nothing. But I mean, it was just funny. He said it every time I played there. "You gotta move your cars." That's my memory from that place, is that guy named Dave. And Stokes, the custodian, Stokes. He just passed away here recently, I think.
Yeah.
Stokey.
Why did you quit Ransom? Did that band just disperse?
Man, it was like one day we all just quit showing up to practice. Just whatever.
We're done. No, that's it.
Yeah, and I'd put another band together with my buddy Hambone, and we were playing a pretty regular, so I just went from Ransom right into Hambone and the Rhythm Monsters, and there was no downtime. As a matter of fact, Hambone and the Rhythm Monsters used the same rehearsal space that Ransom used.
Wow, so you didn't skip a beat, did you?
No, man, we even used the same PA that was in there.
So in that last up until because he passed away a few years back, right?
Hambone and the Rhythm Monsters didn't last that long, probably 2 or 3 years, maybe. If you can get 4 years out of a band, you're without losing major members, you're doing pretty good. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, when you're young and you're in your teens and you're in high school, you think, well, I'm gonna put a band together, and that band is going to be the band that you retire from. And it's never like that. You go through 100 bands in your life. You just, when you're in one, you dig your heels in and you do it. But I I think 3 years for the Rhythm Monsters, and then we would have reunions. I
Oh.
think Ransom had one reunion.
I think it's been a while since Johnny passed away. 10 years ago?
No, it
11?
was 7 years on my 50th birthday.
Oh, okay.
So October 29th, 7 years ago, he passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Boy, it doesn't seem like 7 years.
No, it doesn't to me either. And his wife just posted a guitar pick. Me and him use the same picks. Just posted it online. I looked at that and I'm like, dang, man, has it been that long? Because I met Hambone in high school.
How do you get the
Before I
nickname?
even, what's that?
How do you get that nickname?
That we had a drummer named Jeff Zurcher. He's a lot of the guys know him. Was into giving people nicknames, and Johnny, his real name was Johnny Ramble, Rambole. So it was Ramble. And one day we were looking for a band name, and for some reason Zurcher kept calling him Hambone. And somebody threw out Hambone and the Rhythm Monsters, and it's like, that's it. And so that stuck.
I
And
love
he,
finding out how bands are named.
and he was Hambone the rest of his life. That nickname stuck so intense that he was Hambone or Bone. It got shorted to Bone.
Yeah. The Doty Bone Band.
Yeah. Because that was her nickname.
Yeah.
So then and you guys played I know you had that. I'm not sure Zach knows this, obviously, because Zach would show up there at the I. What was that called? That you guys would play at the I.
Dude, I think it's like open mic or whatever, wasn't it, Zach?
Yeah, it was on Sundays.
First Sunday of the month.
Yeah, first Sunday, I State Line Tavern.
State Line Tavern.
Just to the east of Danville. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think Shelley was running those, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nail.
Yeah, and then was her dad alive when that began?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we carried that B3 organ in that bar out of a trailer.
Wasn't that
that and the Leslie cabinet? It was huge and
my
heavy.
God.
But I mean, it was amazing when you hear that organ just live and a guy qualified to play it properly. It just, wow, that's a crazy thing.
Yeah. That's cool. That lasted quite a while. I mean, that grew into kind of being a big deal.
Oh, yeah. I seen it wall to wall people. You couldn't get out the front door. You had to go out the back door to go around to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
It's just wall to wall.
That is fantastic. You also, so I want to ask you, there's a few things I want to ask you. And then, and one of which is, so I'm gonna ask you this first so I don't forget, but you tend to favor the guitar that you play. Is that your only guitar, or is there a reason you favor that? Because anytime I see you, that you've got that guitar.
Which one are you talking about? The one in the picture that you?
Yeah,
with the stripes on it. Well, that was I played cheap guitars. I got that guitar. It's a Gibson Explorer, and I got it brand spanking new in 1984. And my mom took me to Terre Haute with a buddy of mine, Bob Greer, who's another player around here, but he was older than me. I was still a teenager in 84. I mean, I was still in high school because my graduating class was 84. So that guitar has been with me through everything, traveling the country, addiction. And before my mom passed, she said, "Hey, you still got that blue guitar I bought you?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And I do. It's locked up in my office right now. I still got it. So I don't take it out as much anymore because a friend of mine gifted me a nice Epiphone Les Paul that I've been playing the paint off of. But I keep the 84 Gibson locked up in my office, and it gets brought out on special occasion.
Yeah,
It
that's
got
pretty.
it got rebuilt, so it's not like it's an old beater. I mean, it's an old beater as far as the paint turned to different colors, and it's got freaking stickers on it. And I mean, I beat it up, but it plays great.
Yeah.
I
What
just
a,
I don't want to risk any injury to it by having it someplace it shouldn't be.
yeah, because that's got some, well, it's got some sentimental value to you. You know, it means something.
Well, I playing cheap guitars as a kid. My mom said, "Look, if you stick with it, I'll buy you something nice." And I seen the Scorpions in like 1983, and the guy from the Scorpions come out playing one. And I looked at my buddy. I was with Hambone that night, and I beat him on the shoulder, and I says, "Dude, I'm gonna get one of them guitars." And the next year, my mom took me to Terre Haute.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's great.
And
Yeah, because I've
Hambo kept saying, "Quit hitting me."
I figured it meant something to you because
And actually, the white stripes that are on it is just duct tape, and those white stripes are in honor of the dude in the Scorpions.
wow.
Because his was white with black stripes, and mine, when I bought it brand new, was like turquoise. And I thought, well, turquoise and white looks good together. It's really loud. It'll pop. So the stripes I put them on there just because of that guy.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a great story about that guitar. Now, you also played in, so this is a two-part question. You played in King's Highway.
Yep.
Did you play in the original King's Highway and then the second? Nope. Okay.
Part 2 was me.
Okay. I don't know who was in part 1.
The original band was Greg Lamb on vocals and guitar, Brian Dalby on bass, and vocals, probably background vocals, and then Spencer Ely on drums. And those are the 3 guys that I joined when Greg met me downtown to watch my son play downtown Danville here. I don't know, this was like 8 or 9 years ago. He's like, "Hey, you want to come check out King's Highway?" And I'm like, "Sure." I wasn't playing with nobody right at the time. And I went and we wrote a song the night I got there. And I looked at him and I says, "Man, if we can write one on night one, I think we got something here."
If we can write one up. I love that.
So, but yeah, they had tried out some other guitar players. Some of them hung out for a little while. I don't know how long they were a band before I got there. But when I know that there was just the 3 of them for a long time.
You guys, when you joined them and they came back, because they were done for a while, and then they just revived it, brought you in, and then you guys did a lot of original music.
A lot. Yeah, well, I learned they had a CD before I came along, and I learned all them songs that Greg wrote, and then we started writing when I got there, and that was the second CD, was me and Greg's writing together.
And they play that one. They play some songs off of that one on Homegrown KIO. Yeah, once in a while. And I've got the CD, and I've also got you guys on Spotify. And I've also seen you live a couple of times. And I've taken your photos and stuff like that. But seeing you guys live was one of the best. It's hard to explain, but doing what Zach and I do, a lot of times you see things through the camera. So you're really seeing a visual picture, or you're anticipating a move of an artist or something to capture. So I was doing that, but also there was many, many moments where I was like, I want to experience this without this obstacle between us. And it was I don't, there's just like really no words for it. You really truly are. And I mean this, just like seriously mean this. You are so extremely freaking talented, and you
Well,
just kill it.
well, thank you, Terry. That's nice.
It's
That's
you
nice.
go into solos that's like, I just want to just scream. It's just so awesome.
Well, thank you.
You,
None of it's contrived or made up. Everything that you hear me play, and I'm shooting from the hip. It's all improvisation because I get bored if I have to play the same thing too many times.
you could tell that because, and I even have a video of you guys. It was in Danville. Can't remember the name of the venue. It was a pretty large venue. And they had went through a few. Gosh darn it, I can't think of the name of it. That's terrible of me, but
Indoors or outdoors?
it was indoors. Stage kind of in the corner. They had motorcycles and stuff.
Oh, that was probably a poker run or something at the Knights of Columbus.
Nope.
No. Oh! You're talking about Shovelheads.
Yes, so that was it.
Yeah, the bar and the stage in the corner, kind of up in the air. Yep.
Yes, and you went off into this, like Greg was singing or whatever, and then he stepped back for a minute, and the drums were kicking in, the whole thing, and then it just like suddenly there was you, and you stepped up. You went into this freaking solo that was just like the coolest thing ever, and I did video that. I videoed that. I watch that once in a while still because I'm like,
imagine that.
Yeah,
imagine that.
That was really, really cool.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, give kudos to when it's due, and you are definitely due for that. You also, your son is James Jones.
Yep.
Which is a chip off the old block.
Yep.
Now, the first time I met James, I think, Zach, you'd seen him before me.
Probably out the eye and eye.
Yeah. Zach, you've seen
James. I've seen him a long time. I have a story that he told once. I don't know what your version of it would be, but he was saying that he was learning to play the guitar, and he said you gave him a blues CD and said something like, "Here, learn the guitar parts on this, and then come and talk to me."
Well, I might have. I don't know. The craziest thing that I experienced was after my mom passed, we moved into her trailer. His bedroom became my old bedroom. I'm sitting out in the front room. He's learning Iron Maiden on the guitar that Terry's talking about in my bedroom. And it's the same Iron Maiden that I learned on that guitar in that bedroom.
Life is a circle.
Man, talk about it.
That's crazy. The first time I met him, or I have heard about him. But we were at Boomerangs, and it was one of their summer block party. I don't know if it was a fundraiser. I don't know what it was, but he was there, and he was in this band, and Zach's like kind of up in the center. So I'm like up there, I get up there next to Zach. So I'm like, I really want to check this out because I've heard so much about him. And they kick in and they start to play, and I'm going, oh my God. I'm looking at Zach going, oh my God. And Zach's like, I know. So James, he gets to this solo part where he's going to kick into a solo. He takes his cigarette, puts it in his mouth, gets up on his tiptoes, and just goes nuts. And I was like, yes, this is the best thing ever. Like, I love that. And I walked away. I remember that to this very moment. That feeling of, son of a bitch. I mean, seriously, this is crazy talent.
It's good stuff.
So, yeah. So, when did he begin to go, hey, I want to do this too, or
About 3 years old.
oh my
He's a drummer, and his first instrument was drums. And I went to Skins and Tins, and I talked to Terry, and I got a real drum set. It wasn't no Walmart Meyer drum set. It was a Remo drum set, but it was little bitty for little guys. And he took it to the place that we practiced and would watch my friends that were in the band with me. And he just grew it. He gravitated towards bass. And I'm in school. They said, "What instrument do you want to play?" And I thought, well, we got a freaking drummer here. And he goes, "I want to play bass." And I'm like, what? And so he went to classical bass and he played bass. And then he went to a school in Michigan called Interlochen. It's kind of like, if you remember the old TV show Fame, where they had the high school for the gifted kids musically and theatrically and stuff. Well, they got one of those schools up in Michigan, and he got scholarships and help to go up there. And somewhere in there, guitar came along, and it's like, okay. But see, he plays drums because he played almost all last summer with me and the coalition on drums.
Oh, wow.
We lost our drummer, and James is like, "I'll do it." And it's like, oh, so he borrowed some pieces off some friends, and he was playing. He played all summer with us. And then when he's not playing drums, because now we got a guy, he'll set in on guitar.
That's got to be kind of really cool to have your son up there with you.
Man, it's what's cool is I look over and there's my wife singing and my boy playing, and it's like, okay, this is it.
You've got to make it. This is it, exactly. So let me see what else. Okay, so you also have, and this is something you began, I think it's just been a few years, is Goat Studios.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that.
Well, I've always recorded. As I go clear back to the old analog cassette machine, 4-track machines and little dinky drum machines, and started recording on my kitchen table in my apartment we lived in. And then I moved it to our practice place, and I started recording bands. And this would have been probably like 1990, maybe. And I mean, I'm coming in on the ground floor of this home recording stuff that you can buy now, and it's crazy expensive because it was new back then. And I just kept going, and now I got a computer, and I went from 4 tracks to unlimited tracks. And my pastor come to me and he says, "Hey man, I got a room at the church you can have." And I'm like, seriously? And so I moved into an office there, and I was doing pretty good recording. I had a guy come in from Texas. He's from Danville, but he moved to Texas, and he come back and he recorded. I had some people come down from Michigan, and then COVID happened. And like every other business in America, my room is small, and there's no way I could be 6 feet away from somebody. I can't do it. And so, like everybody else in America, we all took a hit, and I looked around and I'm like, man, this is crazy. I don't have any work right now. It's slowly building back up, but man, the recording business is feast or famine. And the other thing is since equipment is so readily available and affordable now, everybody can be their own producer in their own bedroom, and they don't need a guy like me. So it's almost archaic to think that I'm still recording people. You know what I mean? Why aren't you doing it yourself? I am.
Wow.
We have a recording studio here on the east side of Urbana, run by a guy who's a guitarist who lived in Champaign for many years, was in a bunch of bands. And then Anthony Gravino, he moved to Chicago for a while, and he came back and he bought this house and put a recording studio in it. And he's recording a lot of bands there.
I crossed
That's good, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody's working and doing it. I got a couple of people that come to me about once a month, and they'll do like one song, and then it'll be slow for a couple of months. And
so you are still doing this though?
Yeah.
You haven't shut this down? This is
No,
something- Okay, so so let's just say to anyone listening to this podcast, talk to Gary. If you got some stuff you want to get recorded or whatever, give him a shout and talk to him about it. And
I got a good project studio where you can do a demo of something. If you're my target audience so far has been like singer-songwriters that don't have a band.
yeah,
Because my biggest downfall right now is I can't really do live drums, but I can program them because I've been programming them for the last 25 years. So I can do you a good demo, reasonably priced.
somebody was telling me the same thing as far as like the live drums. They don't do the live drums, but they can add them in. But they add them in.
Well, see, in that SoundCloud website that I told you about, looking up Goat Studios, all that is me. It's me on all the instruments except for the vocals.
Cool. I can't wait to get to go and listen to what you got. So that SoundCloud he's talking about is called Goat Studios 2020.
Yep.
On SoundCloud. We will have that link at the on this podcast as well, and a link to Gary's Facebook page in case you want to contact him or whatever. We'll have some contact information. Gary, if you got an email or something, give that to us.
I also teach guitar lessons and bass lessons if anybody's interested.
See,
if you live in the area.
And let me tell you something. If you need to learn guitar, this is the man.
Yeah.
To learn
There
from.
you go again.
I'm going to also, I think, post a few YouTube links that we have of you playing on this as well, because I swear to God, people, if you have not heard this guy play, you have got to go and listen.
Wait a minute. There's YouTube links of me playing?
Yeah, that I videoed of you guys.
Man, I'm going to have to go back and hunt that stuff up because I didn't know it existed.
I'll send them to you so you can check it out. Yeah, I'll send them to you in message. I'll give you the links. But at any rate, we've got to wrap this up. But be sure that you do that. SoundCloud, Goat Studios. That's GOAT Studios 2020 on SoundCloud. It's Gary Jones. We'll have his Facebook link on here as well, so you'll be able to contact him. Goat Studios. Don't forget, people. Gary, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Zach, it's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, good to see you again. I hope to make it back to Danville for one of those. You play at the Black Bear jams, right?
I haven't been to those recently. I play so many Sunday afternoons that I don't get a chance to get to those.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What's your next gig? What's your next gig?
This Friday, 8 to 11, or 8, 9, 10, 11, 8 to 11 at the Westville Legion.
Okay, cool. In Danville?
In Westville.
In Westville.
Yeah, the Westville
Just south of
Legion.
Danville.
Yeah, it's close.
Yep.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Gary. Have a good night.
Hey.